Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet, Bava Kamma Daf Mem Gimel Amud Aleph, 43a1. We're just going to start on the bottom of 42. Membet Amud Bet, just on the bottom, where it's speaking about to do with other nezikin. Right, we're going to ask on the explanation of Resh Lakish and Rabbi Akiva, and he says like this: Uve nezikin no amar Rabbi Akiva. Are you going to tell me that in nezikin Rabbi Akiva doesn't say that the Baal is not going to be your resh any zechut of tashlumim which go to his wife? Meaning ki'ilu that it only goes, it doesn't go to the husband. Why not? Vatanya, we learned in a braita. Hikalta isha v'yatzu v'yiladea. If a person comes and he hits a pregnant woman, and because of that the children come out, so noten nezek v'tzar laisha. He has to give nezek and tzar to the woman. Udme v'ladot labal. So only the dme v'ladot go to the husband, but not the nezek. The nezek v'tzar. Nezek v'tzar goes to the women. And a baal. What happens if there's no baal? The husband's not alive. Noten yorshav. So you're going to come and you're going to give it to the yorshim. Right? En Aisha noten. Right? He comes and he says this. He says, En Aisha noten liyoshea. However, though, the woman, if she's alive, she does not give it, right, to her yorsheha. Right? Now, if right now she's milberet, she was a shivcha, and then she became free. So therefore, she has no yorshim. Or she's a gioret. And obviously that means that she doesn't have any yorshim. So what happens? Zacha, the mazik, is the one that's going to be zocheh. Why? That means he's patur from pay. Because basically he has to pay. Pay to who? There's no Yorushim. So he keeps the money. So he doesn't have to pay the money. So says the Gemara, if this is what we're talking about, so obviously the Rabbi Akiva comes and he says, O Isha, it's telling you that the Niske Aisha are going to the Yorsheha. So he was only mitkaven to what? Only to the Kofer. Right? But he wasn't talking about Kofer. He was saying for other Tashlumim also, even though they're going to be paid during the lifetime of the woman. So he comes and he says, Amar Rabba comes and he says, Bigrusha. We're talking about a grusha, right? Meaning we're talking about a woman that she was divorced. And since she was divorced, right, which means that she got divorced after getting hit. So what happened is she got divorced after getting hit. She got hit, she was still married, and then she gets divorced. So therefore the husband is not yoresh, the tashlume nezek, because during the time of her death, he wasn't the husband, right? However, though, right, if right now the nisuin was during the time of the death, he is yoresh, right? Why? Because at the time of death this is what's happening. So it all depends on what's going on. So Amri, so says the Gemara, grusha. If we're talking about then a grusha, nami tiflog with dmei vladot. Why do you say that if she's grusha, she still keeps the nezek v'tzar and it doesn't go to him because now they're not the husband? Dmei v'ladot, why does it go to the husband? She's divorced now. So the dmei v'ladot, they should at least split it. Fine, it's his child, but it's also her child, and they're divorced. So half should go to her. So Rav Papa says, HaTorah ziktav dmei v'ladot laban. The Torah was mizakeh, the dmei v'ladot to the Baal, to the husband. Afilu ba'alea biznut. Even if he came onto her without, but just without marriage. Yeah? So he says, why? My time, why? The Pasuk says, the Torah was mizakeh that tashum dmei vladot to the one which is the Baal, which means even if right now there was no husband, but it was just be'ilah, which means relations, the Torah gives it to him. Right? And therefore what happens is that's why he says that it goes only to the husband and not to anybody else. Here already in the footnote, he already explains how do you know that it's not talking about the husband. We're talking about because Baal could either be in the husband, or here we're talking about the actual relations because that's what a husband does. He has relations. But he comes in the footnote, he actually explains the way that it is. But that's the way that it is. 1 second, okay? So now he comes and he says like this. So says the Gemara, V'nukma lerabba kegon shegavu ma'ot. 1 second. What did we just say until now? We're telling you right now that she was divorced. And since she was divorced, it doesn't go to the husband or to his yorshim because she was already divorced. And that means even though the Kabbalah was done beforehand and now she got divorced, but since the tzar v'nezek always goes to her, so now that she gets divorced and then afterwards she dies, it doesn't go to the husband, it goes to her yorshim. Okay, but dmei vladot go to him. So says the Gemara, why don't we just say that we're talking about that they already collected the money? Meaning they went and they collected the money from the mazik. And therefore, according to Rav Nachman, or for example, they took karka, okay? Because he says that obviously it cannot, the husband does not take in the ra'ui muhsak. It's like a bechor. That means you cannot take anything which is going to be fitting. It has to be something that you're already muhsak. A husband will only take an inheritance from the wife and something where the money is already there. The Amar Rabba, because Rabba says, Gavu karka, right? Yeshlo. If they come and they collect karka, so therefore the bechor takes pishnaim. Okay, Gavu ma'ot, but if they collected money, enlo, he does not take pishnaim, which means like this. Everyone knows halacha that a bechor takes two portions. When a bechor comes and he takes two portions, okay, you have the bechor that he's taking the portion for the pashut and another one for him. So it's like two portions. So for example, they've got 5 kids, you divide it in 6. The bechor will take 2 and all the rest will take 1 each. That's the way, that's how you split it up. That's called the bechor. The bechor will only take double portion in what is muhzak, not in something which is ra'ui. Which means what happens right now, they have the money there. It's tangible, it's muhzak. They have it. So then they divide it. But what happens if something's going to come later on? So that is called ra'ui, fitting to come, something which is going to come later on. Something which is coming later on, the bechor does not take pi shnaim. He only takes regal. So says the Gemara, Damar Rabba says, Gavu karka, yeshlo, the bechor takes pi shnaim. Gavu maot, if they collected money, enlo pi shnaim. Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Nachman says, Gavu maot, yeshlo, gavu karka, enlo, the exact opposite. Only if they were gove karka, ma'ot, sorry, are you going to say that he's muhsak? But if he's going to be gove karka, it's considered ra'ui. So therefore, you can come and say that each one is the shitato. That the Braita above, we're talking about that a woman that she was married at the time of her death, and still the husband will not yoresh the nezek, because it's talking about how was it paid. Was it paid by money? Or was it paid by karka? And each one according to the shita, because there was a machloket, which one's considered ra'ui and which one's considered muhzak. Meaning, right, according to both of them, right, a bechor does not take ra'ui. We already know that. That according to everybody, a bechor does not take ra'ui. Rak muhzak. According to everybody, a husband only inherits his wife in muhzak, not in ra'ui. So it's the same thing like a bechor, the exact same. Now the only machloket between Rabba and Rav Nachman was what is ra'ui and what is muhzak. Is money ra'ui and karka muhzak, or is money muhzak and karka ra'ui? That is the machloket between the two different shitot, right? 1 second, guys. I'm going to stop. Amrei, so they said, Hanemile libne ma'arava aliba de Rabbanan. Answers the Gemara, this is only going according to the machloket between Rabba and Rav Nachman, is only talking about the machloket in Chachmei Eretz Yisrael, that they hold that a tashlum of a chov is called ra'ui. Meaning, somebody comes and he lends money out. Yeah, one more time. They come and they, what? And then somebody's going to come and he's going to pay him back. Is that considered ra'ui? Maybe you want to say, listen, that's muhzak. It was his money. So it's fitting to come later on. It's not like a type of a thing of a dividend or I don't know what, that all of a sudden he won a lottery and he already passed away and he already, it's a loan. He has it. He has it in his hands. But he lent it out. So kika amri hacha, right? When are we going to say now, Rabba and Rav Nachman, they're going to say that the Braita is talking about a grusha kerebi, like Rebbe, that he argues on Chachamim. And he holds that all the different tashlumim of a chov are considered muhzak, whether you took karka or whether you took money. So it comes out according to him that tashlumim are considered part of the Yerusha, the husband, right? Unless he comes and he says, right? He comes and he says like this, like Rabbi, that he holds that Bemet is considered muhzak, whether they took karka or they took money. So it comes out that the tashlumim are the Yerusha of the Baal, unless she got divorced before the death. Okay? Fine. When you have a shor muad that kills an eved without kavanah, right? Patur, he's going to be patur from the 30 shekalim. Shneimar says in the pasuk, kesef 30 shekalim yitel laduna v'ashor yisakel. Kesef of 30 shekalim he has to give to his the master, and the shor is going to get sekila. Kol zman she'ashor biskila. So anytime the shor gets skila, the baalim mishalmim 30 shekalim. So therefore you get to pay 30 shekalim. Here, en ashor skila. The shor does not get sekila. Why? Because he killed below b'chavanah. So he killed below b'chavanah, he doesn't get skila. אז אין הבעלים משלמים 30 שקלים. He does not pay the 30 שקלים. So Amar Rabba, so that was one halacha, right? To do with the concept of the 30 shekalim. So the 30 shekalim that go to an eved is only if the shor is niskal. If the shor is not niskal, does not get stoned, and 30 shekalim. Amar Rabba, something very dome also. Shor she'emit ben chorin shelo bechavana. What happens if you have a shor that kills a ben chorin shelo bechavana? Patur mikofer. It's also going to be patur mikofer. Shneimar b'sezer pasuk shor yisakel v'gam alav yumat. Im kofer yushat alav, right? And there he says in kofer yushat alav. Again, it's a kesh, makish, right? When it's written, we make a kesh. What does that mean? Whenever the shor gets killed, so then the owners are going to pay kofir. And a shor b'skila, if there's no shor b'skila, and a be'alim mishalmin kofir, they're not going to pay kofir. So says the Gemara, 1 second. Abai is going to ask on Rabba, hemit shori et ploni, or shoro shel ploni, hareze mishalem el pi atzmo. My love lekofir. We already said in the Mishnah in Ketubot. The Mishnah over there says, the guy comes and he says, my shor came and killed John Doe. Yeah? Or shoro shel ploni, right? The shor of ploni, right? Which means my shor killed the shor of John Doe. Yeah? The question is, there the Gemara says, Mishalem al pi atzmo. He does have to pay on himself, which means that it's not knas. So what are you talking about? What does he have to pay? My lover, we're not talking about, are we not talking about that he's going to come and he's going to pay the kofir? And therefore, right, we're talking about that he paid kofir. So says the Gemara, no. We're talking about damim, nezek. Right? We're talking about like the damim of the ne'erag, which means the shovid of the shuk of the avadim. A bala shor is going to be patur from kofir because the chiyuv l'shalem yorshim is only, right, when it's going to be the shor zik chavero. So the Gemara asks, idamim, if you're talking about now that we're talking about mazik, nezek, and not kofir, let's see the sefer. Hemit shori et avdo shel ploni. Imagine I come to Bet Din and I say that my shor killed the eved of John Doe. Yeah? Eno mishalem al pi atzmo. He's not going to pay according to himself. Right? Ve'i damim. Now, if it's money, on my law, why are you going to tell me no? Because if you're going to tell me it's knas, remember, hodat baldin, when a person is modeh knas, he's going to be patur. If he admits to a knas, he's going to be patur. So if he's going to come and he's going to say that he did this, he doesn't have to pay it. So now 1 second. What's going on? If it's money, it's not knas, so he should pay it. Even though he comes and he says that his shor killed the neved. What does it matter? He should actually pay it. So says the Gemara, Amarle, he comes and he tells, Rabbi answers to him, Yachilna l'shuyin lecha, I could answer you, Reisha is damim, the Seifa is knas. I could tell you that the Reisha is talking about tashlum damim, and the Seifa is talking about the tashlum of knas, which means that even in the case of the Seifa, the balashor is going to pay the Dmei Avid. And that which it says, Eno mishalem al pi atzmo, is the kavanah to the knas, which is basically of killing an Eved. But I'm not going to answer you something dachuk. Meaning, I could have answered you that the Reisha is one thing, and they say, but it's dochak. So I don't want to answer you something which is actually dochak. Right? So what am I going to answer you then? So he comes and he says like this. He comes and he says like this. He says, or rather, idi ve'idi damim. Whether it's a Reisha or the Seifa, it's damim. Mihu, however, though, ben chorin mishalem kofir al pi atzmo. Right, the ben chorin is going to pay kofir al pi atzmo. So what is the case now? Ti'atu sade ve'asidu bedekatal, that if witnesses come, right, and they testified al l'shor sharagadam ve'lo yadeh, but now they don't know whether it's a tam or a muad. Meaning they don't know whether this animal is a tam or a muad. Okay, and therefore, but remember, if it's going to be a tam, it's going to be patur, right? And if it's going to be a muad, he's going to be chayav in the kofir. Ve'amar mareh de muadhu. Now the master is the one that he said it was a muad. To mishalem kofir al pi atzmo. He's going to be kofir al pi atzmo. He's going to pay it. Hechal deleka edim. But if there's no edim whatsoever, right? Mishalem damim. So then he's only going to pay damim instead of kofir. So kabei eved she'eno mishalem knas al pi atzmo. By the eved that he doesn't pay knas al pi atzmo. So right, and therefore vehechidami. So what's the case? Tiatu edim v'atzidu bedekatal. Witnesses came and they said that he killed. Right? They went and they said this shor killed an eved. Velo yadeh. But they don't know whether it's a tam or a muad. The amar mareh, so the master was the one that said it was an eved. There was a muad. So lo mishtalem knas al pi atzmo. He's not going to pay a knas al pi atzmo. But if there's no edim at all, lo mishalem damim. He's not going to pay money. Which means, what are we trying to say here? We're trying to say that the Rabbi is trying to answer up. he didn't like Bava Kamma, and he asked the question, what's going on? Like, he either does have to pay al pi atzmo, or he's not going to pay al pi atzmo. So what's going on? But rather the concept, though, right, and that's what we're trying to say over here, is the concept, though, is he comes and he says, really, be'emet, Reisha and the Seifa is all talking about damim. But it all depends what's the case. So he says, you know what, the case is very simple. He says, right now you have witnesses that come and they testify. This shore killed. Now, depends whether the shore is a tam or a muad, what does it have to pay? Does it have to pay a kofir or not? If it's a tam, it doesn't pay kofir. If it's muad, right, it does have to pay kofir. We don't know what it is. Meaning we don't know. The master comes and he says it was a muad. So in such a case, since there was already witnesses that he killed, even though the master is the one that's informing us of that he is a muad and therefore he has to pay kofir, he pays kofir al pi atzmo. However, though, one second, through himself, he just testified that it's a muad. If he would have said that it was a tamar, he would have kept quiet. He would have been patur from kofir. So therefore, the fact that he gave us the information, that's al pi atzmo, he told us that he's muad. So it's not considered modeh beknas and patur. He's chayav. Why? Because there were witnesses, and the witnesses testified that his shore killed. However, though, what happens? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
But he volunteered information.
Doesn't matter. That's what he says. He has to pay. But if there's no witnesses whatsoever,
the principle
and the witnesses, there's no witnesses, and he just comes in on his own, and he says, right, that right now he comes and he says that his animal killed, and he gives us information that his animal is also muad. He doesn't have to pay.
Because then of course.
Why? There's no witnesses. There's no witnesses. He's patur.
He pays zero.
So says the Gemara, Mati Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak, says Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak, Kol shechayav beben chorim, chayav be'eved, ben bekofer, ben mita. There's a general rule, which is going to be the next braita, that anybody that's going to be chayav on killing a ben chorim through his shore is going to be chayav on killing the eved with the shore. Whether we're talking about kofer, right? Whether we're talking about mita, okay? Kofer be'eved miika, there doesn't exist kofer be'eved. There's no kofer be'eved. Why? He comes in because the Torah gave him a knas. It's not kofir. Kofir means you take the valuation of what it is, the person, the human being, and then you come and you say, okay, he has to pay kofir. It's not kofir. This is shoshim shikalim. So elalav, but rather, what are we talking about? Damim. So it comes out, we're talking about money. We're not talking about kofir. So it comes out the mefurash and the braita that in any case where there's a chiyuv damim on killing a ben chorim, there's going to be a chiyuv damim on killing an eved. So therefore, since Rabbi, you are the one that's coming and saying that if the balashor is modeh by that he killed the ben chorim, that he has to pay the money, chodin, right? In the same case, will be an eved that he has to pay the money. Al pi atzmo. What's the difference? Right? It should be the exact same thing. So ika damri, some people say that he himself asked the question and he answered the question. Ika damri, and some people say no, Elmaleh Rabbi, the Rabbi actually answered it. Meaning one more time, Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak is coming and he's asking on Rabbi. So one ika de amri is that he himself asked the question and he answered the answer. And other opinions say no, he asked the question and Rabba, the one that he asked on, was the one that answered the question. What did he answer? Hachiktani, whichever one it was, who answered. What did they answer? Hachiktani, this is what it means to say. Kol shechayav beben chorim bechavana al pi edim kofer. Anybody that's going to be chayav by a ben chorim bechavana, remember that means that the shore killed bechavana, and he's going to be al pi edim, and he's going to be chayav kofer. Chayav be'eved knas is going to be chayav by an eved knas. It's like we're making a rule. The rule is if you have by ben chorim, right, that you're going to pay, right, and you were talking about kofer, so obviously it has to be kavanah. Because if it's not bechavanah, there's no kofer. Why is there no kofer if there wasn't done bechavanah? We said at the beginning of today. Why is there no kofer if he did not kill bechavanah?
Just if he's a tam.
No, tam never pays kofer. Only muad. But besides that, forget about that now. Why do we say that it's only bechavanah that he has to pay the kofer?
He has to pay the kofer.
He pays kofer only if it's bechavanah. We just said it this morning. This is how we started today's daf. We said that only if you kill the shore, then he has to pay kofer. If you do not kill the shore, you do not pay the kofer. So therefore, since the shor killed below bechavana, we do not kill the shor. If we do not kill the shor, we do not pay kofir. So that's why it says it here. It says one more time. Kol shechayav beben chorin bechavana and al pi edim kofir. It has to be bechavana, because if there's no kavana, there's no kofir. It has to be al pi edim, because if it was no al pi edim, he's not going to pay kofir. It was al pi atzmo. He was the one that admitted the entire thing. There was no witnesses, so he's going to be chayav in the same case with an evet knas. But if you're going to only be chayav beben chorin shelo bechavana, but you're going to be paying damim and not kofir. So, for example, he paid shelo bechavana, right? But it was known through edim. So, since it was known through edim, he's not patur legamre. There's edim, but you can't pay kofir. It was shelo bechavana. So, since it was shelo bechavana, he has to pay damim, not kofir. He has to pay damim. So he comes and he says, one second. So he comes and he says, chayav be'eved shelo bechavana al pi edim damim. So therefore, he's going to come and he's going to have to pay, right? In this case, also, right, of the eved. So therefore, that's the difference, right, between them. Okay. So now he comes and he says, right, like this. We're talking about now as follows. Okay. So he says like this. Chayav be'eved shelo bechavana al pi edim damim. So therefore, it's like a different halakha. It's not called anymore. So therefore, what we're trying to do is we're always trying to apply the ben churin to the eved. Okay. So one more time. If it's going to be that he's going to be chayav by ben churin, it had to be bechavana and it had to be al pi edim. So he pays kofir. So he's going to pay by the eved 30 shekalim. And if it's going to be that it was shelo bechavana, but it had to be with edim, obviously. So therefore, it's going to be damim. So therefore, in such a case where he's going to have to be paying the damim, so therefore he's going to be chayav in the eved also damim. So Elmaleh Rava comes and he says, "Ihachi if so shelo bechavana al pi edim neshalem damim." So therefore, if a person comes and he kills, Ihachi isho, right? So basically, the fire of a person, right? Which means he comes and he turns on a fire, and that fire comes and it goes around and it kills someone. So the fire of a person, if it kills shelo bechavana, also al pi edim, which means that they were the ones that testified that he actually made the fire and he just didn't watch over the fire, and it killed a person, neshalem damim. He should pay also damim. What does that mean? When a person kills, right, through fire, there was no tashlum of kofir. So according to Rabbi, right, the mav'ir had to be mitchayev instead of kofir. It should have been chayav damim, money. You're right. It's not kofir. It's something else. This kofir is a machloket, whether kofir is kapara, whether kofir is mamona. But here it's damim. It's a value. You're paying money to the person. So he comes and he says, you should also pay money. So he says, umenale le Rava de lo meshalem. How does Rava know the bemet you don't pay? So he says, if you're going to tell me now from that which we learned in the Mishnah, hayagedi kafut lo. What happens right now if you turn on a gadish of tvuah, and there was a gadi tied up to the gadish, the eved samuch lo, and you had an eved right beside the gadish as well, but he wasn't tied up. Then he imo, so he was burnt with him. Chayav, he's going to have to pay for the gadish and the gadi, but he's going to be patur from the eved. Why? The eved should have run away. Why didn't the eved run away? So it's not his fault. Eved kafut lo, but if it was opposite, the eved was tied up beside it, and the gadi samuch lo, then imo, patur, he's going to be patur from tashlumin nezikin. So the kavanah of the Mishnah in the last din is the mavir is going to be patur from the eved and the gadi. He's only going to be chayav the gadish. So now when he's going to be patur for the srifat gadi, because the gadi could have ran away. However, why is he patur from paying on the eved? The eved was tied up. The eved couldn't have done it. So therefore, basically, when you're burning this, like when you're burning this thing, what do you want? Saying obviously that you should be chayav on the eved. So he says, but from here we learn that there's no tashlumin on the megat eved unless there's the knas of 30 shekalim. Meaning there's only the knas by an eved. There's no damim by an eved. So therefore, says the Gemara, Hamar el Shakish. Shakish says no. Kigon shitzid begufo shel eved. Here we're talking about that you actually put the fire on the body of the eved itself, and therefore in such a case it's mamash al Masechet sicha, and that's why you're chayav mitah, because you kill. So if a person kills, to chayav mitah, that's why he's patur for tashlumin. Because you always give him the stricter punishment. We're not talking about what you just said, that really be'emet, you burnt the gadish, and then the gadish came in and burnt the eved, and then you're going to be patur legamra on the eved, because it doesn't exist on that. No. You started burning the eved. And when you started burning, the, right, exactly, it's a murder. And that's why you're going to be patur. Ve'ela, but rather, mehad the Tanya from that which we learned in a Braita. Chomer be'esh mi bevor. You guys remember we learned this before, right? In the first prakim, we said there's a chumrah by a fire, right? I think it's a little bit hot over there. Yeah? Want to know? So he says, chomer ba'esh mi bevor. Right? So he comes and he says there's a chumrah by a fire more than a bor, right? More than a pit. So he says, sha'esh muedet lechol ben davar ra'ui lo ben davar l'shalom lo. Remember that mav'ir, it burns everything. A fire doesn't distinguish between one thing and another. It destroys everything, whether it's, whether it's food, whether it's it. A fire just consumes. That's what it does. Mashen kim bebor, but a bor, right? We said that it's not going to be kelim, right? Ve'ilu sha'esh mishalemet, but the chumrah, another chumrah is sha'esh mishalemet shelo bechavana. Fire will pay even if it's not done bechavana. Damim, right, which is basically damim of a ne'erad, right? He's going to pay the damim of the ne'erad. But mashen kim bebor, a bor will never pay. Right, which means the bala bor is not going to be chayav to pay if a person fell inside, because he says v'nafal shama shor velo adam. So therefore he comes and he says, and there we didn't say mashikim before looked on it, we didn't learn that. So therefore it comes out the be'emet, the din is that even by a mavin of an esh, he doesn't pay the dmei hanerad, and that is a mekor of Rava. So answers din matan the shir. Maybe we left it over. What does that mean? Maybe only we brought out some of the chumrot of esh mibor, and we left over this chumrah. That really be'emet, esh, you are going to be chayav to pay damim. So says the Gemara, you're right. Ela Rabba Gufei, Rabba himself had this question. And what was the question that he had? He said, Isho shelo bechavana. When a person has, right, an esh, right, that below bechavana comes and it kills someone. Mi mishalem damim or lo? Does he pay money or not? Mi amnina do he say gabe shor, hu bechavana mishalem kofer, shor bechavana mishalem damim. Right, that only if it's bechavana he pays kofer. If it's not bechavana he only pays money. Aval isho, but the fire, the bechavana lo mishalem kofer, that he never pays kofer. So shor bechavana also is not going to pay damim. Or dinar maybe given the gabe shor bechavana by shor, it's not bechavana. Afal gav deleka kofer, even though there's no kofer, but there's still damim. Kabi isho nami also by fire. Afal gav de bechavana, even though it is bechavana, lo mishalem kofer shor bechavana miya mishalem damim, but he should still pay damim. Then lo yadinam, but he doesn't actually know what's the answer. Meaning he wasn't sure how to compare it. And therefore, since he wasn't sure how to compare it, he wasn't sure, does an esh pay damim or not? He doesn't know. And that's why he says, teku. He left it without a psak. Okay? So, Kiata Rav Dimi, when he came from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, he said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, kofer yushat alav. Matamur im kofer yushat alav. Rabot kofer shelo bechavana, kofer bechavana. Okay? You with me? What does that mean? He says here, when it says it's coming to include kofer, shelo bechavana, right? Just like there's a chiyuv of kofer, bechavana. So now what's happening here is something actually incredible. Now we're actually saying, why did it actually have the extra word im? You know why I had an extra word im? To tell you that you're going to be chayav, even if it's zelo bechavana. So says the Gemara, Abaye says, 1 second. Ela me'ata, right? Let's ask the following question. Eved nami matamu lomar im eved igachashor. Why by an eved does it say im? Why does it say im? Yeah? Exactly. So he says, matamu lomar. Now again, this Rabbi Yochanan is not like what we learned at the beginning of the shiur. Beginning of today's shiur, we said everything depends upon the skila. If the shor gets skila, it pays kofer. If it doesn't get skila, it doesn't pay kofer. So if it's bechavana, it gets skila, so it pays kofer. If it's shelo bechavana, it doesn't get skila, so it doesn't pay kofer. However, though, now all of a sudden, Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says, no, the word im includes kofer afilu shelo bechavana. Includes kofer afilu shelo bechavana. So says the Gemara. So when Rav Dimi came, he said the name of Yochanan. Kofer, ma tamu lomar im kofer. Lerabot kofer shelo bechavana, kavur bechavana. Elmaleh Abaye comes and he says, Ela me'ata eved nami. It's written im eved. So what is it coming to teach you? That abot eved shelo bechavana, kever bechavana. So it comes to include that even if you killed an eved shelo bechavana, ze oto davar. Selam mishos kilu shata aragta oto bechavana. Echite ma'achana me'ina. If you're going to tell me that's in achanami, but the Shaki says shor shenit eved shelo bechavana patur mi-30 shekalim. A shor that comes and kills an eved shelo bechavana is going to be patur from 30 shekalim. So here's some mefurash that if it doesn't be shelo bechavana, patur. If it kills an eved shelo bechavana, patur. So don't tell me im, that im is coming l'rabot shelo bechavana. Doesn't work. So Amar Le, he comes and he answers him. Gavra Karan. Are you asking a question from Rish Lakish to Rabbi Yochanan? One more time. We started off today, right? Today we started off the drasha, right, of Rabbi, that he comes and he said that if the shore gets skila, so then he has to pay kofir. If the shore does not get skila, right, he comes and he says, right, does not pay kofir. Okay? So one more time. One with one. Okay? Perfect. All of a sudden, right, what happens is that all of a sudden what happens is that right, all of a sudden what happens is now is like this. Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says no. Rabbi Yochanan disagrees with this, and he says there's the word im. What does it mean im? Im kofer yushat alav. Im comes to include kofer afilu shelo bechavana. So tomeret, shore that comes and kills shelo bechavana has to pay kofer. Even though it's lo bechavana, lo mishane, he has to pay kofer. Abaye comes and he asks, what are you talking about? He says im eved. So what, if it kills an eved shelo bechavana, you still have to pay, you have to pay the 30 shekalim? Rish Lakish says no. So the Gemara says, Rish Lakish to Rabbi Yochanan, kilu ma kasher. So Akiyat Rabbi Rabbi Yochanan, when he came, he said, eved, matumul mar im eved, that are both eved shelo bechavana. He says no. The reason why is because the Gemara is actually bringing a testimony that Rabbi Yochanan actually argues on Rish Lakish. And he says, Rabbi Yochanan, eved, matumul im eved, that are both eved shelo bechavana, ke eved bechavana. Rish Lakish nami nema. So why don't you just say then, right, that the Rish Lakish is the exact same thing? That means even though Rish Lakish came and he said that there's going to be patur from knas on killing shelo bechavana, he comes and he says, Rabbi Yochanan argues on that. He says, no, you're going to be chayav. So he comes and he says, so according to Rish Lakish, nami nema, what do we just say? The eved, im eved, lo darish. He says, no. Rish Lakish doesn't make this drasha of eved, im eved. He doesn't like this thing of im, eved. Yeah, he doesn't like that. Kofer or im kofer. He doesn't do these drashot. Meaning, Rish Lakish does not come and make all these drashot. So says the Gemara, Amri though, we said though, no, Eved im Eved, he doesn't make the drasha. Bemet, he doesn't make the drasha. But Kofer im Kofer, he does make that drasha. So the Gemara is going to ask why. Why, if the word says im, why do you make a drasha by Kofer but not by Eved? Umayshna Eved im Eved, look, right? So what Mayshna? He says very simple. Eved im Eved, look, the Eved im lo Eved is not actually brought down, right, in the Tashlumim. Kofer im Kofer, ketiv bimkom Tashlumim. But Kofer and im Kofer is brought down in the Tashlumim. And therefore, im Aleph. Im. Okay. So he comes and he says, im Eved, right, it says it's not written by the place of the Tashlumim. But the Kofer, im Kofer, right, is brought down in the Tashlumim. So therefore, because of that, that's why he comes and he says that the word im is extra, lerabot chiyuv kofer. But that's only by the kofer of im kofer, that is by tashlumim. Im eved, nothing to do with tashlumim. Tashlumim is to do with payment. So if the word im was brought down to do the payment, so it's coming to include to do the payment. But if it's not nothing to do with the payment, you're not going to come to include the payment. Fine. 2 dots. Okay, the 2 dots says, v'chem beben ubat. We're talking about whether it's a ben or a bat. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. That means we didn't care whether the short is killing a boy or a girl, a man or a woman. Doesn't matter. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. Oven igach ovat igach. What does that mean? Oven igach ovat igach. Hamishpat הזה יעשה לו. לחייב על הקטנים כגדולים. This is coming to be mechayev on the ktanim like the gdolim. What does that mean? Ktanim and gdolim is the exact same thing. There's no difference, right? So says the Gemara, v'lo dinu. It's a kal v'chomer. Hoy v'chayev adam be'adam, chayev shor be'adam. Right? 1 second. Just like if it's a chayav, a person that kills another person, right? And therefore the Torah also says that you're going to be chayav a shor that kills a human being. So if we're going to learn, makesh chayav adam be'adam lo shna ben ktanim gdolim, avkesh chayav shor, right? Be'adam lo tachlo ben gdolim gdolim. He says 1 second. I have a kal v'chomer. When a human being comes and kills a human being, do we ever ask who did he kill? Right? He kills a human being. That's it. Come on, no kaddish. What do we care? No. Well, he killed a 4-year-old boy. Or he killed a 6-year-old girl, or he killed, I don't care. He's chayav mita. So says the Gemara, the same thing when a shor is going to come and kill a human being. It should be the exact same thing. Well, there's going to be a difference between one and another. So he says, ve'od, and furthermore, kal v'chomer, it's kal v'chomer. Uma adam be'adam, right? Ve'lo asa bo ktanim k'gdolim. Just like by an Adam to an Adam, they did not do Ktanim like the Gdolim. V'chiev bo l'Ktanim Kedolim. And he did obligate the Ktanim to the Gdolim. Right? Shor be'Adam, when we're talking about a Shor and an Adam, right? V'asabo Ktanim Gdolim. And he made the Ktanim like the Gdolim. En odin shechiev l'Ktanim Kedolim. Is it not going to be that he's going to be mechayev on the Ktanim like the Gdolim? Right? Obviously. Right? So he says no. So Ima Marta be'Adam, if you're going to tell me by Adam, it's different. I could ask you against this Kal V'chomer. You know what against the Kal V'chomer is? When you have Adam be'Adam, you're going to be chayav the Arba Dvarim. A Shor be'Adam, you're not chayav the Arba Dvarim. Talmud Lomar comes to teach you, Uven yugach uvat yigach, lechayev al Ktanim Kedolim. So therefore, it's going to teach you. That's why, meaning that since I could have pushed off the Kal V'chomer and saying that Adam be'Adam is not kashur, because Adam be'Adam, you're always going to be chayav in the Arba Dvarim. You're not going to be chayav that by a Shor. So therefore, he comes and he says, because of that, I could have pushed it off and said, listen, there's no Kal V'chomer if a Shor is going to kill a Katan. Shor going to kill a Katan. Maybe it's Fatul. Has nothing to do with anything. Adam is different. Adam has to pay 5 things. Adam is completely different. So he says, Oven yigach uvat yigach, lechayev al Ktanim kegdolim. This is where we're going to continue tomorrow.